Well, good morning. Welcome to Storytime with Uncle Jeremy for National Podcast Posting Month 2018. If you don't know what National Podcast Posting Month is, or as I like to refer to it, Podvember, it is a contest or a challenge to post a new podcast every day through the month of November. And I'm doing just that again this year. Maybe we'll continue further past November, but we'll see. But it's a toad the wet sprocket kind of morning here in my car as I drive to work. And this year is a little different compared to last year. Last year I actually had my ideas mapped out by the beginning of the month. This year I have nothing mapped out, but I have a good reason. Although my good reason is just an excuse, I have a good reason in that I am in the process of finishing my bachelor's degree after 23 years since I started college. I am in the process of finishing that up with a big capstone project, and that big capstone project, its first big deliverable, is being completed this weekend, which means I have a lot of work to do over the next few days, but I am a glutton for punishment, so here I am doing National Podcast Posting Month 2018, and I have completely slurred my words for no other reason than the fact that I am exhausted. I am so tired, and I have to go to work, which is why I'm recording a podcast using my headphones into my iPhone while I'm driving into work. But I don't know. What's happened since last year? Let's talk a little bit about the last year since I started this podcast. A lot, actually, a lot. In July of 2018, I decided that I would start to do something I have wanted to do for years and never really took the opportunity to. And I have tried it a couple of times, and it went horrible every time I tried it, and I never really refined myself. And that thing, I never really pushed myself to do this again until July, and I've been doing it ever since. And that thing that I chose to do is stand-up comedy. For years I was told I was funny, and you don't always get told you're funny, like with words like, hey, you're funny. It's actions or responses to things you say or do when people laugh. And for years I've been telling jokes, just riffing on things here and there, either at work with my family or whatever. And I've always thought of myself sort of as funny, and I've always loved stand-up, and I've always wanted to do it. And the first time that I did stand-up, I bombed miserably, and I was told later on that it was because the room was not right for me. And basically that what meant the audience did not get my jokes because I was not talking to the audience. I was talking above the audience. And I get that. I see that as a fair criticism for why I bombed. But it took me, like 7 more years before I tried stand-up again. And I did okay, but looking back at it, I kind of cringe at the material, but also my delivery and all that. And so when I decided to start doing it this past year, I really, really wanted to push myself to be smart about what I say and how I present myself and all these other things. So I wrote my first set, which was written for 4 minutes, and I found an open mic in the city, and I drove there and I did it, and I did really well, in fact, because I invited people to come watch. I kind of stuffed the ballot box, if you will, and had a good time, and I just haven't stopped. I go at least once a week. I try to go at least once a week. There's been a few that I've missed, usually, not usually, but probably due to vacation or other things, other obligations that are going on here at home. And but I've been doing it ever since for about 4 months. July 2nd was my first time, and so we're rounding out to the 4-month anniversary of me doing stand-up, and so that's been fun. People have asked me stuff like, why are you doing it now? What's the point? What is your goal with this? And really, a lot of it can be boiled down to a little bit of narcissism, but also frustration with my lack of ability to make things and do things that are creative but also interesting to me. I think I could really point it to is the fact that I am tired of being a never was, and I don't want to be famous. And being famous, that's never been my goal. I've seen people who are famous, and you just see their lives just sort of fall apart eventually, and I don't want that. I mean, I have a family and stuff, but as a creative individual whose life has sort of been full of different pursuits, particularly in the creative direction, not seeing success and not being able to do things with that creativity can sort of kill you. And for a long time, my goal was to basically become a millionaire by doing creative stuff. And the reason that I never pursued it was because I knew that goal was impossible. So now that I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing for myself, it's a much better option. It's much more fulfilling, and I know that my goal down the line will be not to replace the job that I have, but to utilize the skills that I have to open up other streams of revenue, and that's my goal with all of this creative stuff that I do. I'm never going to get rich doing podcasts. I'm never going to get rich being a stand-up. I'm never going to get rich doing any of the other stuff, the design work, the creative video work, things like that. I'm not going to get rich doing that. It'd be nice to be paid to do it. And that's kind of the ultimate goal. But it's also because I know that I need to do something or I'm going to be miserable. and I guess that's the point. Would I have pursued this sort of thing 20 years ago? Possibly. If I had known that it was out there and that there were opportunities out there, I probably would have. But 20 years ago, I was just getting married. I wanted to provide for my family. I was working. And I sort of put those things on the shelf. And I said, I'll come back to them at some point. And sometimes it's very difficult to look at what you have on the shelf and never use it. And I don't want to do that anymore. I'm taking the gifts that I have and the talents that I have, throwing them out there, and if nothing happens, nothing happens. But if something does, even better. So I'm just going in circles here. Anyway, this is National Podcast Posting Month. I'm going to post a podcast every day through November. I'm hopefully going to map out my topics in the next couple days so it's not a rambling mess like this one was. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about nonsense. Coming up tomorrow, I will probably talk about my event that I have coming up on Sunday and the planning of it, things like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll share a clip of me doing stand-up. I'll figure it out. But until then, Treat everybody that you encounter as if they're having a worse day than you, because 1,000 drops of kindness can wash away a flood of misery. Have a great day. I'm Jeremy. We'll see you tomorrow.